To properly secure a NUVICO Excel recorder that will be accessed by multiple people, it's important that you create separate user accounts on the system. On the NUVICO Excel TNP3200 AI2 16P recorder, we could do this by first logging in with the admin user account. For this, I'm going to use the pattern unlock to get into the system. And from there, I'm going to click on the Start button and click on Settings option. If you need a refresher on setting up the pattern unlock, see our initial video on setting up and initializing a NUVICO Excel recorder. Once logged into the system, we'll click on Settings and then Account and Authority. From here, you see the admin account is part of the admin user is part of the administrative group. And what we want to do is, before we create a new user, we want to set up the permissions that the new user will have. NUVICO Excel recorders come pre-configured with 3 permission groups, 2 of which can be modified, and then you could create extra permission groups as necessary if the 2 pre-configured ones don't suit what you need to limit user access. On this page, you'll see on the right any accounts that are already installed on the system. And over on the left-hand side, we'll see the Edit Permission Group option, which allows you to see the pre-installed permission groups. So as you see, if we click on Advanced, Advanced has a few things checked off, like local camera, which allows you to view the cameras locally at the recorder. It has remote system settings, which allows you to go into the system settings of the recorder when you're coming in from a remote PC or from the mobile app. So the common account has a very limited access base. You can basically talk audio from the mobile app through to the recorder that's set up with an audio out or with audio outputs. To add a new permission group, what we would do is hit the plus in the upper right-hand corner, and from here we can name our group. Let's call this Recep for now. So this is going to be a group that are for multiple users. Maybe you have multiple receptionists, and they'll all have the same ability to view the same certain cameras. So keep in mind, NUVICO Excel recorders allow you to add accounts that are in the administrative group, but there's only one main admin account that is the super user account. Any other account that you create that's in the administrator group cannot make any changes to the main admin account, super user account. So we're in the Edit Permissions group portion of the Account and Authority menu. And we want to create a new group, for example, for a group of receptionists. They'll all have the same ability to see certain cameras. Maybe you only want them to view cameras for the doors that they cover, but you don't want them to have playback ability. So for that, we'll click on the plus symbol in the upper right-hand corner to add a permission group. And let's give this permission group first a name. Let's call it Recep for receptionist. And then we only want them to be able to not view the cameras at the recorder themselves from the monitor. We want them to be using the NUVICO Excel CMS client to view the cameras remotely at their desk from their computer. And we only want them to be able to view live video. We don't want them to play back anything. So for that, first thing I would do is not check off anything on the local permissions. So right now, they have no local camera access to view, playback, search backup, or get audio. And if we drag the slider at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's also a PTZ control. They'll have no ability to do any of that if we don't check off any of those options. So they can't access the recorder locally. That's one way to protect your system. But if we go over to the remote tab, we do want them to be able to see cameras that are that are on the system. So from the remote, we're going to give them remote system access and remote camera access. That will allow them to interact with the cameras from the CMS software or from a mobile app to view only. So what we want to do is go to the bottom of the screen and turn on which cameras we want them to be able to preview live. Now you could do that one at a time, or you can have a selection on and off. Maybe they don't have to see the warehouse camera, or maybe they don't have to see a hallway camera, but they do need to see the entrances. So if the entrances are only IP camera 1 and IP camera 3, we'll only leave those on. Now, if you want them to be able to preview all the cameras, one quick way, and you say you have on a 32 channel recorder, you have 32 cameras, you'd use this quick arrow for selecting all of the cameras to on at the same time. Now for this, we also said that we do not want them to have playback features, so we're leaving that off, and we don't want them to have any other access to the system. We click Add at the end, and now you'll see the new group Recept added to the permissions group. And from there, we can go back into adding a user, and we'll give the new users a name. So say Sally. Sally gets a password. You'll notice that when I'm giving a password, NUVICO recorders come with a handy meter for telling you how strong your password is. You want to make sure that your password is unique and is not something that's easily guessable. Here you can make choices of whether to display the password or not. That's a quick way to see if your passwords are identical. We can choose whether Sally from a remote portion, because we're going to be giving her remote access to this, whether she has the ability to modify her password. We'll leave that checked off. And here we can enable or disable pattern lock. If we want to give them all a pattern to unlock the system instead of using the complicated password, here's where you would make that choice. Do one pattern and then repeat your pattern, and your pattern lock is now set. Now this is only going to be helpful for users, this pattern lock is only helpful for users that would be at the system. If they're not working from the local environment, for instance, here we're creating a receptionist account that will not be working at the recorder itself, we don't really need the pattern lock enabled. We have an email option here. That email is for sending alerts, which will be discussed in a later video. Now here's where you select the group that they're going to be a part of. We made a reception group, and we're going to add Sally to the Recept group, and click Add. And now this is going to require an administrator password to be put in. Okay, so Sally is now added as a receptionist, in the receptionist group. If I wanted to modify this afterwards, we just go back to Edit Permission Group again, and we can actually edit the reception group again and remote, and let's say now she does not need access to camera 2. We can now turn off the preview for that and click OK. And now when we go back to editing users, I look at Sally, and now Sally, you see, only has access to cameras 1 and 3. She doesn't have access to any other camera that would be on the system. So, and she only has remote access to the system. She has no local access to any features on the recorder. All right. User and group permissions can even be set when on the go using the NUVICO Excel mobile app for iPhone and Android. Simply click on the menu icon, select Remote Setting, select your recorder, select Account and Authority. From here, you can add or edit permission groups. You can also add or edit users. Once you create a new user, the app will request the admin password to actually add the user. NUVICO Excel recorders allow you to lock down your servers with great flexibility at a granular level. So moving to the CMS software, NUVICO Excel CMS Plus Lite, when we've added the recorder to the system with the new user's credentials, that was Sally that we added as a receptionist, when we take a look at a new preview screen, you see that the recorder does show all 3 cameras that the recorder physically has, but since we only gave her access to cameras 1 and 3, you'll see that when we add a camera at a time and we drag over 1 and then 2, 2's not going to show anything because Sally does not have permission to see that video, but 3 she does. So she'll only have access to view the cameras that we gave her permission to in the previous step from the recorder. And from there, we can also see that because we gave her no playback ability, if we go to System and then Storage Playback, you'll see that she can't select anything for playback. It'll say no recorded data because the camera that she's trying to select is not going to give her permission to play this video back. So she only has the ability to view video live. And with that, you can make, depending on the situation that you need, you can make a lot of different changes to the NUVICO Excel recorder to provide that specific ability that you need each user or group of users to have when setting up permissions.